Mr. Ezell for his 5 minutes of question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Gaines, I want to thank you for your willingness to testify and your bravery for standing up for women. One thing I'd like to say as a 42-year law enforcement professional, a sheriff, a police chief, a detective, one of the hardest things it is to get these days is to get a person that is willing to testify and to stand up and tell the truth. In your testimony, you described how you were attacked for telling your side of the story. What kind of message does this send to the young women who might be afraid of speaking up?
This is something just based off the conversations I've had with girls. I know I briefly mentioned it in my testimony, but the overwhelming majority of those girls who were specifically at that NCAA championships where we raced with Leah Thomas, who's of course a biological male, the overwhelming majority of us girls felt so uncomfortable. We felt betrayed. We felt belittled. It's of course in the locker room especially, it's awkward, it's embarrassing. It's this feeling of, the best word to describe it is traumatic. No one protected us. No one stood up for us. And so that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. Again, I was totally thrusted into this position. This is never something I wanted. It's still not something I want to be doing, yet I find it necessary. But the message that it sends, it sends a message that we don't matter, that our feelings, our safety, our privacy, it doesn't matter. We should smile and step aside and allow these men into our spaces, or else you are a bigot.
I want you to describe to this committee, I was reading your, in the second paragraph where, and I'm just going to read it, I discovered that the overwhelming majority of the girls shared extreme discomfort being forced to strip down in front of a male who was intact with and exposing male genitalia in the same room. After seeing how this affected every girl at the meet, I decided to stand up and speak out. I resolved to do everything I could to ensure that no other girls feel alone in the fight for their right to compete on a level playing field. Describe that locker room experience to this committee, please.
First of all, we were not forewarned we would be sharing a changing space. No one told us, no one asked for our consent. We did not give our consent to undress in front of a male. Yet the only time we became aware of this was when it was presented in front of us and it was too late. So what that kind of looked like in the vein of being extremely transparent, a 6'4", he's actually taller than 6'1", a 6'4" male walks in, disrobes, and is fully intact with male genitalia while we're simultaneously undressing as 18 to 22-year-old girls, and we could do nothing about it. I actually immediately left the locker room, and I went up to one of the officials on the pool deck, and I said, how is this allowed to happen? I understand the guidelines for the competition, but what are the guidelines in regards to the locker room? And he looks at me and word for word says, oh, we actually got around this by making the locker rooms unisex, so it's not a big deal. And I thought about that, and unisex. So this meant that any man could have walked into our locker room, not just a self-identifying female. Any man, any coach, any parent, any official, any man who wanted to would have had full access to, and bare minimum, we weren't forewarned. And actually, Leah Thomas's teammates who dealt with this every single day all year, when they expressed their discomfort to their administration and they sent an email, and I swear I have a screenshot of their response, their administration responded back with, if you feel uncomfortable seeing male genitalia, here's some counseling resources that you should seek. And that's the general consensus of what's happening around the country, which is why I felt it necessary to get in front of colleges and speak. I think it's so important to engage people my age, 22 years old, to understand what's happening, because that's not what you're hearing in the media.
Thank you for your courage. Please do not give up your fight. Please do not be afraid to share your testimony. And thank you so much. And Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. I now